Hi again. Welcome to Pearl Magazine. Pearl farming was once the pride of Hong Kong, but times have changed. Overfishing and competition from elsewhere have devastated the industry. However, some industry veterans are trying to turn things around. Reporter Tina Jiang has been following local pearl cultivators who are pinning their hopes to revive the Pearl of the Orient on cutting-edge technologies, ecotourism, and, of course, patience.
Inside this kitchen, the chef is cooking a rare seafood dish.
The pearl oysters are tasty. After harvesting the pearls, the meat can be stir-fried.
These pearl oysters are from a local fish raft. Edmund Ip used to be the owner here.
I like fishing, so I bought this fish raft in Lo Fu Wat. I grew up by the sea near Tolo Harbor. Then one day I found some Akoya oysters on the shore. I thought, aren't these pearl oysters? If they can be found here, doesn't that mean I can cultivate pearls here as well?
Natural pearls form when sand or small pieces of shell get lodged into the oyster, irritating it. To protect itself, the oyster forms a nucleus or coat over the foreign object continually until the layers, called nacre, become a pearl. Today, many pearls sold in stores are cultured, meaning a nucleus was forced into the oyster to create the pearl. In the 90s, Zip visited veteran fishermen and local experts, but no one knew how to initiate the nucleation.
I flew to Japan, reached out to pearl farms, but the masters refused to teach me. Then I recalled that I saw pearl farms when traveling to Florida, so I went back there, only to find out that it was also run by Japanese. I was turned down again.
Cultured pearls were first produced in Japan in the 20th century. For many years, the Japanese maintained a monopoly by keeping the technique a secret. Ip finally learned the skill at an institution in Hainan Island, China's southernmost province.
When I first started, it was very slow. I could only cut open a few dozen oysters every day, but I just wanted to try, so I grafted roughly 1,000 of them, and it worked. I harvested pearls the year after. The success rate was 40 to 50%.
He was thrilled by the success, and in 1999, he invested heavily in his pearl farm, but he didn't realize it could be an all-or-nothing game.
There was construction of a gas tunnel under the sea from the mainland all the way to the gas company in Tolo Harbor. In a few days, my pearl oysters died because of the construction. I had about 20,000 oysters, and more than half of them died within a week. Other fishermen, their fish died too. I lost around $2.5 million in total.
In 2001, Ip sold the fish raft and decided he would never go back to pearl cultivation again. He was not the only one who left the industry at that time.
My dad had been cultivating pearls for the past 2-3 decades. He started in 1996 in Hong Kong, actually. It was a success, but during that time, a lot of rafts were occupied. So my dad could not really establish the pearl farming business in Hong Kong. So that's why he went back to China and in a place called Sunliao in Huidong district. So that's where he started his business.
After taking over his dad's pearl business in 2010, David Wong started thinking about moving back to Hong Kong in 2014.
Most of my business activities are actually in Hong Kong. Hong Kong government has done a really fantastic job in conserving the water environment. And I've also noticed the improvements in the water quality in Sai Kung. And also after some researches, I realized that, hey, Sai Kung was actually one of the many places that, was famous for pearls.
It's a 10-minute ferry ride from the Hebei Haven Pier in Sai Kung to the fish raft where Wong keeps all his oysters.
The location that we are at, Manamwat, has a very good water flow, lots of oxygen, lots of nutrients, so our oysters are pretty happy.
He has around 30,000 pearl oysters here and another 30,000 in China. He can cultivate up to 60,000 a year.
We are pretty much the only one growing pearls in Hong Kong at a large scale, as well as make it into a viable business. We have a team in China who specializes in doing the pearl nucleation. So after the process, we ship them from China all the way to this pearl farm right here.
It takes a year to harvest after nucleation. The pearls are either made into accessories or sold to designers at a wholesale rate. Nothing gets wasted. The oyster meat becomes an ingredient of XO sauce, and the shell is used to make pearl powder used in beauty products. To capitalize on the whole operation, Wong holds workshops during weekends and holidays for those who are interested in learning about pearl cultivation.
Hey, do you know where your black pearls come from? Pearls is actually a forgotten part of Hong Kong history. I really want the Hong Kong people and even the foreigners to know that, hey, pearls and Hong Kong are related. It's not just a trading hub.
Participants learn about the history of pearl cultivation and create their own accessories from the pearls they harvest at the site.
My kids who are teenagers are loving it, which is quite rare. It's not overly theoretical. It's also very, hands-on, literally. I made a bracelet, yes, and my kids made some necklaces. It was also something we had never done before. My children were able to realize where it comes from rather than, look it all in the window shop. It makes a big difference.
Wong says the oysters also help keep the ocean clean. Each pearl oyster filters 10 liters of water per hour, and the economic value is huge.
I would estimate there's at least 3 million of business value that can go on per year. This is only with regards to selling the pearls in terms of at the jewelry fair, as well as doing the ecotourism. I haven't included the money from the pearl meat, as well as money from the beauty and cosmetics from the pearl powder.
Apart from making money, Wong also wants to solve the pain points of the pearl farming industry.
One of the challenges that the pearl jewelers, pearl designers are facing is that the customers would ask, hey, are these fair trade pearls? Do you know where your pearls come from? And most of the time, the pearl designers, the pearl jewelers, they cannot tell. They normally buy them from the wholesalers.
The solution is to combine pearl nucleus manufacturing with radio frequency identification, commonly known as RFID.
All the gemstones have the numbers that can be engraved on the surface, but we cannot do that to the pearls. Otherwise, it would be like doing a laser cut on the surface of a beautiful lady, which is not nice. So instead, we insert a tiny RFID tag inside the pearl nucleus, and then after 1 year, we have the pearl with an ID inside.
With RFID readers, the ID inside the pearl can be read, so customers can trace and track where the pearl comes from and know more about the pearl farmers. Wong believes that this technology can also help brands gain more credibility. Back at the fish raft in Lo Wu Fat, another expert is also working hard to help revive the local pearl farming industry.
More than 1,000 years ago, the empire in China, they sent soldiers to Toro Harbors to collect the pearl. And also in the 1960s, some people who tried to start a pearl culture industry in Hong Kong under the support of the Hong Kong government, but the attempt failed. So I'm trying to see if we can utilize the idle fish raft in our mariculture zone to start the industry again.
Yan Hua Tat used to work in finance, but he is now a PhD candidate studying pearl cultivation at the University of Hong Kong. Over the past 6 years, he has been experimenting in different marine culture zones in Hong Kong.
After I started the experiment, I found that one of the major operating costs is the labor cost. That is the labor they use to clean up the pearl oyster because of the biofouling on the oyster shells.
He found out that keeping sea urchins with pearl oysters can help solve the problem.
Inside the cage, I will put an oyster with the sea urchin, and the sea urchin will help to clean the shell of the pearl oyster. a fisherman in Saigon, he told me that it saved at least more than 50% of the labor cost.
Currently, Yan is cooperating with Edmund Ip, the pearl cultivator who decided to give it another try.
I didn't make it the last time, so I'm starting over again.
From baby oyster to harvest, Ip spends roughly $20 on each shell. One pearl can sell for about $100, depending on the quality.
I don't know how to do business. I didn't manage to sell all my pearls. I still have thousands at home. In the past, I wanted to be the only player with no competitors. But this time, I hope more people can learn the skill. I'm more than happy to teach you because the industry can't develop without more players.
Meanwhile, Yan has also been trying to connect pearl farmers with jewelry companies and designers.
One of the problems is even they learn the skill, they don't know how to sell it. I can't say that they can manage the skill now to produce the best grade pearl, but Hong Kong is one of the major trading hubs for pearl. So I think if we can produce good quality pearl, it won't be a problem to find a market.
After the break, elderly and out of work, how the COVID pandemic has battered the livelihoods of seniors. Stay with us. Welcome back. The COVID-19 pandemic continues to hammer the local job market, with the unemployment rate hovering at a 17-year high of 7.2%. More than 260,000 people have lost their jobs, but the story for seniors is especially harsh. Many older workers have lost their only source of income in old age. Pearl Magazine looks into the future of the social enterprises that hire mostly elderly people to find out how bad things are for some of Hong Kong's most vulnerable workers.
"60-year-old Michael used to work in restaurants with a monthly income of more than $20,000. He lived in Shenzhen at the time and had to commute back to Hong Kong every day. But as the pandemic took hold, Michael lost his job despite having 2 decades of work experience in the F&B industry. He was then forced to move back to Hong Kong to look for a new job.
When I moved back, I still had some savings. I rented a room in Prince Edward and stayed there for a month or so. Then I couldn't keep up and finally went to sleep in the streets outside the cultural center.
During that period, Michael met some church friends and social workers. They got him off the street and into a shelter. He pays a monthly rent of almost $3,000, but with no work for much of February and March, Michael had no way of paying rent.
I haven't worked since the Chinese New Year. I could only turn to Ah Tung for help. He has funds. He can help those with no jobs or anyone in need.
Tung is social worker Ng Wai Tung. He says some less educated middle-aged or older people can't even find manual labor jobs during the pandemic. So no job means no rent and no roof overhead.
In the past, middle-aged people could get manual jobs as a cleaner or a security guard. But due to age discrimination, older folks are marginalized even when applying for menial jobs. I think the government should provide with direct subsidies for them.
Michael hopes he can find a long-term job, but the pandemic may not end anytime soon, so job hunting is getting harder as he gets older.
I'm preparing for job interviews. I heard that in Chengchao, workers can get room and board. So I'm going to give it a try, so I can save money on rent.
Michael says he'll try the restaurants. After a 1-hour ferry ride from Central to Chung Chau, Michael starts looking for a job on his arrival.
即係你呢度請唔請人啊？
我哋暫時唔請啊，因為限聚令咧，我哋生意唔係咁好。
係咩？有呢度咧有邊幾間即係可以啲酒樓係要請人嘅，知唔知？
咁你要問下咯，我都唔知佢請。
哦，唔該晒你啊，唔該晒你。Hello， 阿姐，唔該。你呢度請唔請人啊？
唔請住啦。
有冇其他嗰啲洗碗啊嗰啲嘢咧做咧？
暫時唔需要住啊。
OK， 唔該晒你啊，唔該晒。嗰啲餐廳啊、酒樓啊都冇。
There are no wanted notices posted at those restaurants.
行多幾間，問多幾間啦。
I'm planning to ask as many as I can to try my luck.
請唔請咯？
The round trip to Chung Chau costs $25 on weekdays. That's enough for a meal for Michael. He decides to take a chance, even for a janitor's job.
你呢度係咪請人啊？我請人做嘢，我啱啱入咗場都睇到嗰個廣告牌。
你係做乜嘢㗎想？
你呢度寫住做清潔㗎嘛？
我清潔我哋請咗㗎啦。
哦，長洲咧都唔係好大。
Chung Chau is not that big. People need to work as well, so all the job vacancies are taken.
Danny has been working as a cross-boundary truck driver for over 30 years. He says the impact of COVID-19 is far worse than SARS. The Chinese government has repeatedly tightened inbound policies. Many cross-boundary drivers like Danny haven't been able to work in China for half a year. Because a driver's salary depends on the amount of goods they deliver, Danny is only getting a base salary, which is half of what he earned before.
I keep worrying my employer can't survive. It may definitely change to another business in another sector. But what else can I do other than driving? I'm getting old.
Danny used to transport goods to Donggun, but now Hong Kong drivers who wish to enter Guangdong province must register a health code in advance. An app shows Danny has been to a high-risk area, so he can't work in China.
I haven't been to the mainland for 5 months. If I had been to buildings or wherever with infected COVID cases, I wouldn't complain. But I haven't been to any risky area. The code keeps popping up. I'm helpless.
To help those in need, this social enterprise restaurant gives away lunchboxes every day.
I come here for the free lunch boxes every day. Today I got pork knuckle rice from the free options, veggie, pork knuckle, and fish. I had fish yesterday, so I picked a different one today.
Social workers say they've noticed there are now more jobless people coming for lunch boxes, mostly between the ages of 50 to 60 and above.
Compared with 2019, when there was no pandemic, the number of people in need of the lunches has doubled or tripled. Among these people, some have lost jobs. Some may have jobless children. Some say they don't want to burden their children, so they're here to save money on one meal.
64-year-old Norman is one of those who needs a lunchbox. But he's also a volunteer helping with lunch deliveries once a week.
I do everything. Filling the box, closing the lid, delivering the box to people, or just checking on them and wash and sanitize.
Helping others where you can, that's a good spirit. They may have a need to take, but they also give back when they're able. They arrived early today, 9 a.m., to pack the rice and soup.
Jobless people like Norman can volunteer at this social enterprise. It's an opportunity for the elderly staff to keep working and live on their own.
As a social enterprise restaurant, our foremost goal is to provide jobs to the elderly. Lunchbox delivery is one. We need someone to make soup, cook rice, and prepare the dishes. In the lunchbox production, everyone helps.
This social enterprise also employs elderly people. It hosts activities at schools so the elderly can explain what it's like to be living as an old person. But because of the pandemic, they haven't been allowed to enter schools. Those whose income is based on these activities have lost out.
We are supposed to take on our social responsibilities. We don't lay off any staff. Instead, we give priority to employ the elderly. Living with the pandemic has been a new normal. As a social enterprise, we have to think about our solution, addressing problems with our services and business first. Then we are able to continue employing the elderly.
The Hong Kong General Chamber of Social Enterprises interviewed 222 social enterprises between November and December in 2020. Half of them said their business suffered a 50% drop. Another 20% said they suffered cash flow shortages and would only last another 3 months.
Social enterprises are facing the same difficulties as small and medium-sized enterprises. But what makes it tougher is that we must maintain our social responsibilities. Many of us hire marginalized groups and disabled people, so we have to expand income sources and cut down spending.
The financial secretary said the government would issue $5,000 electronic consumption vouchers to each qualified Hong Kong resident. The General Chamber hopes that can encourage people to spend them on social enterprises.
We suggest people spend 2% of that $5,000 on social enterprises. By spending that money on social enterprises, many of us can get help for further development.
For Michael, as an unemployed and marginalized person, the digital voucher won't be of much help to him.
One meal costs $45 to $50 at a restaurant. A free meal saves me $45 per day. What am I going to do with the $5,000? Can I pay rent with it? Without a job, I don't even know if I have to sleep on the street next month.
Michael says he still wants to find a job and support himself and not apply for comprehensive Social Security assistance.
That's Pearl Magazine for this week. Next time, Tuned Out. How local musicians are struggling to make ends meet after a year of no live gigs. Thanks for watching. See you next time.